Chapter 10, Black, the Hand of Hell. On the reef coast, from the position of the beach, through the thicker and thicker fog, you can vaguely see what is happening in the dark sea. In the dark place underwater, where the sunlight is hard to reach, a behemoth is docked in the deep sea, in a distorted shadow like a living thing. It is very far away and there is refraction by the water surface, so it is difficult to see the whole picture of the thing clearly. It's like a bloated lobster crawling on the bottom of the sea, or like a huge octopus, stretching its long tentacles in the abyss. That is a ship. A keeled battleship. There is no deck and hull in the traditional sense. As far as Blake's naked eyes could see, there were only skeletons erected on both sides like the gray-white skeletons of giant dragons, wrapped in tattered wood covered with seaweed and barnacles. Make it look like the backbone of a giant that has been drawn out. At the bow of the ship, it was embellished with a blue-gray dragon head skeleton, like an exaggerated statue of the bow. The white skeleton seemed to maintain the roar of the beast before it died. Its mouth is wide open. 16 ferocious canine teeth staggered up and down. In the dark skeleton eye hole, there is a faint green light shining under the deep sea, and around the ghost ship, there are similar bone lamps lit. That light set off the keel ship like a ghost after death. It also has a mast. Just soaking in the sea water, between the two masts, there are tattered sails like the shroud of the dead, those rotten fabrics swaying in the water. It's as if the wind really blows them. Horn sound. The faint sound of a horn sounded from this keel boat about 100 meters long. Under Blake's increasingly stunned gaze, the sturdy half-giant fog warriors were dragging the struggling orcs, the souls of Naga, out of the abyss and into the keel warships from all around the sea. Those guys are tall, the shortest are more than 3 meters, they are like drowned little giants, and their rusted armor is also covered with seaweed and starfish. And how to see how weird the horn's helmet. That's the Vrykul. The degenerate species of ancient humans living in the northern continent of Northrend and the surrounding areas are the ancestors of modern human civilization. Now the human beings in the eastern continent are further degenerated from the Vrykul. The reason why the humans of Azeroth have the good physique that can fight against the orcs is because of their good genes. When Blake looked down into the sea, the Vrykul undead were also looking over here, their eyes twitching with green ghosts, watching Blake feel uncomfortable. So he looked back. Looking at the soul attractor who looked more like a living person in front of him, he said in a strange tone. I am a little mortal, so why should Queen Hela value her so much? I even let the most powerful Hell Navigator under the God of Death come to pick me up in person. Your name is Hablin, right? The Navigator of the Nagfar, the most powerful subordinate of Queen Hela, the soul-inducing soul of Hell. I was born in Kultiras, and there is a legend of Hell in that ocean country. And in every legend related to the sea, there is a story that belongs to you. However, as far as I know, aren't you generally only active in the gloomy North Sea? Why did he come to Cosmodin? Because of the soul. The soul attractor in front of him seemed willing to share these secrets that only belonged to the dead with Blake, who was about to become his companion. He stretched out his hand to lift the soul-inducing lamp around his waist, and with a wave of his hand, a pale light, like a chain, clasped Blake's body, and a gloomy cold penetrated into the bone marrow. It's as if he can get his soul out of the body with a single stroke. Since 6 years ago, when the orcs of another world first set foot on the land of Azeroth, more souls have wandered in the world of the living than ever before. Souls are the currency of death, and Queen Hela is destined to possess them. As the Queen's loyal subordinates, we must satisfy all the Queen's desires: humans, orcs, Naga, dwarves, gnomes. All the souls fall to the ground, which is the gift of life, but their final return journey is guided by my own hands. As if reciting a poem, the soul leader said to Blake. Souls are tides, and we are sailors, we go with the flow. Every soul has value, and every soul needs to be put to good use. Well, it makes sense. Blake nodded. But in his heart, he complained wildly. If I hadn't known what virtue your mad queen is, I would have been deceived by your ignorant words. What kind of currency? Crap. All the souls in the entire hell, no matter where they come from, no matter how identities they have, are just cannon fodder in the eyes of the mad woman of Hela, and they will eventually be wasted in the private grudges between Hela and Odin. Tell the truth. I'd rather be hacked to death by Frostmourne and become a mindless undead than fall into Hela's hands. The former is nothing more than the pain of a sword. In your hands, it is endless torture. Cough cough. Under the gaze of the soul-inducing person, Blake, who was bound by the light of the soul-inducing lamp, wanted to raise his hands, but he couldn't do it, so he could only cough lightly, and said to the half-giant in front of him, "Mr. Hablin, before you take my wretched soul, please listen to me for a few words, will you?" The soul-inducing person of hell stopped turning around and looked at Blake. The latter sorted out the language and said, "You take me now, what Queen Hela can reap is just a weak soul. Look at me, I'm just a victim of the opening of a great era. I'm not even as strong as an orc. What I have is nothing but a false name as a Kultira's prince, but this title means nothing to the noble Queen Hela. But I think if I serve the great Queen of Hell in a different way, perhaps our Majesty will gain more." He glanced at Habloon and said, "As you said, I can draw souls. Maybe it's the gift of death, but it doesn't matter. What I want to say is that you and the Nagfar are running between the world and the hell every day, taking dead souls to hell. It's a pretty honorable job, but dead souls vary. If the great Her Majesty needs an invincible army, then she must be more eager for a strong and tenacious soul, but you, who are bound by the balance of life and death, cannot intervene in the world of the living. You can only passively seek and lead. And I can take the initiative to find. Just as you are the best and most loyal Hell Navigator under His Majesty Hela, I can also be the best soul hunter and soul hunter under the Queen." Blake emphasized his tone and said, "You know what's the best part about this idea? I am a living, and I hunt the living without violating the balance of life and death, and all the souls I have killed, I am willing to sacrifice them to Her Majesty. The land is restless, and the decisive battle between orcs and humans is imminent. So many powerful souls have nowhere to go after death, they are far from the ocean, and the Nagfar cannot reach them. They can only be ushered in to linger in the ruins and become sad spirits. But I can find them. In the depths of the continent that your battleship cannot reach, I can do this for you and your Majesty. As you said, all souls are in the shadow of hell when they return. I hereby sincerely ask the great Queen Hela to give me this weak mortal a glorious opportunity to serve her and the hell." Blake stopped. After playing the last card in his hand, he calmly looked at Hablin, waiting for his answer. Although it looks like a risky gamble, playing with the advantage of tongue. But Blake was sure of this proposal in his heart. He knew some little secrets that the Queen of Hell couldn't tell others, and he also knew what the Queen wanted most. When one person knows the other person's strongest need, and starts with that, a deal is made, and that's a done deal. The little secrets in his mind that belonged to all the big figures in this world are Black's confidence. Habloon was silent. The Hell Navigator was thinking, and in the gray eyes under the hood, light like dim stars floated. After 5 minutes of suffocating silence, he nodded slowly. "The Queen is very interested in your allegiance request. She is willing to give you a chance to prove your commitment to hell." As he spoke, Hablin took off the soul-inducing lamp from his waist. "Hand it to Blake," he said. "You have 10 days in the world to prove your ability, 50 brave and vivid warrior souls. As long as you can fulfill your promise, your generous Majesty will give you everything you want. Of course, I will prove it." Black held the light soul-inducing lamp, and at the moment when it started, a gloomy cold from hell poured into Black's body, causing him to shudder greatly. In just an instant, his body was covered with frost, and even the little murlocs behind him were affected, causing Bumblebee to sneeze twice. "Do your best to serve the Queen, that is the highest honor you can get in your life." Habloon glanced at Black for the last time, turned and was about to walk into the mist, but was called by Black. "Wait, Soul Attractor. The hell inducer looked back at Blake, and a muddy voice came from under the hood, saying, "Countless souls are waiting for my reception in the eternal tide. My time is precious. What else do you have?" "Curse." Blake pointed to his thin body, rolled his eyes, and said calmly, "If this curse is not removed, it will be difficult for me, who has always been weak, to hunt down the soul for the great queen. I would like to ask you to help me remove this curse. I think this should not be difficult for a powerful soul attractor. For this reason, I am willing to present this trivial cursed weapon to you as a gift of kindness." As he spoke, he quickly took out the suitcase containing the polluted Eye of Paul's from the magic suitcase, and opened the magic suitcase with the key. He handed the dark orb to Hablin with both hands. The moment his hands touched the Eye of Paul's, the dark magic poured into his body again, and a sound of glass breaking also sounded in Blake's mind. He glanced at the character card. Alas! The warrior class that had dropped to level 1 officially returned to 0, and disappeared like ink dissipated. Under Blake's regretful gaze, one of his 3 ordinary classes was vacated. It means that he lost the possibility of becoming a good fighter. Well, a little evil thing that can bind the soul and impose a curse. I also heard the annoying void whispers from it. Hablun stretched out his pale hand and touched the surface of the purple-black orb. He said in a bad tone, "It's another group of lowly warlocks, playing tricks they don't understand, but they don't seem to know that they have mixed with the mad believers of the void. The scum in the abyss is really pervasive. Of course, I can help you get rid of this curse. It's not difficult." The soul inducer held the tainted Eye of Paul's in his hand. He seemed to be very interested in this thing. After a few seconds, he said to Black, "You seem to have entered the path of the shadows, but your power is not pure, and you who are so impure cannot dedicate your strength to the Queen's great cause. Step forward, Spirit Hunter. Accept the blessings of hell."